Today, let's explore a practice that has the power to transform not only how we connect with the world but also our inner peace and happiness. We'll dive into what compassion means in Buddhism, why this practice matters, simple ways to cultivate it in our lives, and the benefits it brings to our everyday experience. We'll also discuss how to handle challenges that may arise along the way and, at the end, share an inspiring story illustrating the power of compassion. Have you ever wondered how your life might be if you practiced compassion in every moment of your day? If you could see others with empathy, deeply wishing to ease the suffering of those you encounter? In Buddhism, compassion is one of the most valuable and essential qualities. It goes far beyond merely feeling pity. It is an active, sincere desire to alleviate others' suffering by looking at them with an open and understanding heart. Compassion is a practice that not only benefits others, but also brings advantages for ourselves. It improves our relationships, reduces stress, and helps us face life's challenges with greater emotional well-being. In a world where we are often encouraged to focus on ourselves, practicing compassion can help us rediscover the value of human connections and the beauty of a generous heart. In Buddhism, compassion is seen as one of the heart's most important qualities, going beyond simply feeling what another person feels. While empathy is like a reflection, allowing us to feel with others, compassion is a step beyond that. It is when, beyond understanding someone else's suffering, we feel the genuine desire to alleviate it. This type of compassion in Buddhism is called karuna, and it becomes a path of personal transformation as well as a way to connect with others. Buddhism has a central concept known as the four immeasurables, which are heart qualities that help us live in greater harmony and serenity. These four elements, loving kindness, compassion, empathic joy, and equanimity, guide us in expanding our kindness to the world around us. In this context, compassion is a natural response to suffering, a deep-seated wish for those who are suffering to find peace and relief. But compassion is not only practiced by naturally kind people. In Buddhism, it's believed to be a skill anyone can develop, like learning to play an instrument or cook. With practice, compassion becomes a way of seeing the world. Instead of looking away from uncomfortable or challenging situations, like seeing someone in difficulty, compassion invites us to face them with an open heart and a willingness to help, even in small ways. The important thing is that compassion doesn't need to be a grand gesture. It begins with small acts, a smile for someone having a bad day, a kind word for someone facing a challenge, or simply listening attentively to someone who needs to share. When we do this, we start to feel that compassion is like a seed. It grows and spreads, transforming not only the life of the one receiving it but also our own, as we practice it. Incorporating compassion into daily life benefits both those who receive it and transforms those who practice it. When we start looking at the world and others with a compassionate gaze, our relationships deepen, as compassion fosters mutual understanding and strengthens connections. Every act of compassion, no matter how small, acts as a foundation that builds and sustains relationships with more empathy and patience. Furthermore, practicing compassion has surprising effects on our own well-being. Many studies show that compassionate attitudes reduce stress, help decrease anxiety, and promote a more balanced emotional state. This relief happens because, by connecting with others more sincerely and selflessly, we move away from being preoccupied with our own concerns, creating a mental space for greater ease and inner peace. Regular compassion practice helps shift focus from me to us, a liberating effect that increases our emotional resilience. Over time, this way of seeing the world with more kindness also makes us more content with life. After all, the more we give, the more we realize that the well-being of others becomes, in a way, our own well-being. Compassion creates a cycle of happiness and fulfillment, where our happiness is nurtured by the sincere desire to see others well. In this way, living compassionately teaches us that, as challenging as it may be, the world is still a place where small acts can make a big difference. Cultivating compassion in daily life starts with small gestures and conscious intentions. At home, a great starting point is practicing active listening. Often, we're so busy that we listen without truly paying attention. But by pausing to listen to someone fully, without judgment or distraction, we show respect and care. This simple act of genuine attention is a form of compassion that creates room for mutual understanding and reduces many conflicts that arise from miscommunication. Small acts of kindness can also make a significant difference. We can express gratitude or do something thoughtful for a family member, like preparing a special meal or just being available to help. Compassion grows when we look beyond our needs and recognize what others may need. As we integrate these gestures into our day-to-day, our own home becomes a more welcoming and peaceful space. At work, compassion can be practiced in several ways. Empathy, for example, is essential for understanding colleagues. By trying to see situations from others' perspectives, we can be more patient and understanding, especially in moments of pressure. Often, we judge quickly without considering what others might be going through. So, instead of reacting with criticism, we can practice patience, offering subtle support like an encouraging word or practical help if a coworker is overwhelmed. Even online, on social media, we can practice compassion. Before posting or commenting, we can remember that there's a person with feelings and experiences on the other side. When we adopt respectful communication, even on sensitive topics, we contribute to a more positive environment. And sometimes, compassion means choosing not to engage in virtual conflicts, avoiding debates that promote negativity, and focusing on sharing messages that inspire and promote kindness. Beyond these daily actions, compassion can also be strengthened through meditation exercises, like loving kindness meditation, known as metta. In this practice, we dedicate thoughts of well-being to ourselves and then extend them to others, from loved ones to those with whom we have difficulties. By sincerely wishing for all to find peace and happiness, we train our minds and hearts to be more receptive and compassionate, broadening our capacity to connect with the world around us. These daily practices remind us that, even in a fast-paced world, there's always an opportunity to express compassion. As we make this a habit, we not only positively impact others, but also become lighter, happier, and more at peace. Practicing compassion is transformative, but it's not always easy. In certain situations, being compassionate can feel genuinely challenging, especially when dealing with difficult people or moments of exhaustion. We all have days when, overwhelmed or preoccupied, compassion feels out of reach. And that's completely normal. In these times, compassion also means being kind to ourselves and recognizing that we're not perfect. The important thing is, with patience, to remember that each moment is an opportunity to start fresh. One of the biggest challenges in practicing compassion is what's known as compassion fatigue. This emotional exhaustion happens when we feel like we're constantly helping others, but forget to care for ourselves. Genuine compassion is balanced and respects our own limits. Being compassionate doesn't mean neglecting self-care. On the contrary, we can only care for others well when we're taking care of ourselves. So, the practice includes taking time to rest and recharge so that compassion remains a light and natural expression of who we are, rather than becoming a burden. Another common challenge is dealing with negative reactions. Sometimes, even when we act with compassion, the other person may not respond as we hoped. They may reject our help or even react with coldness. In such cases, it's important to remember that compassion isn't about receiving something in return, it's a gift we give, regardless of the outcome. If someone isn't open to receiving, we can accept that without resentment and continue on our path, letting a negative experience dim our compassionate spirit. By recognizing these challenges and learning to handle them, our practice of compassion becomes stronger and more genuine. Over time, we come to see these difficulties as part of the journey, and that each obstacle teaches us more about cultivating a truly open and resilient heart. Compassion is a central theme in many Buddhist stories, showing how this practice can transform lives. One such story is about a bodhisattva, a being who has reached enlightenment but chooses to remain in the world to help others. He dedicates his existence to easing the suffering of all beings. In one of his teachings, he explained that as long as anyone is suffering, he will never cease to help. This attitude reminds us that true compassion is constant and includes everyone, regardless of who they are. What's most beautiful is that this inspiration isn't limited to ancient stories. It also shines in ordinary people who practice compassion in daily situations, transforming their own lives and those of others. We might think of someone who, after a difficult period, decides to offer support to others going through the same situation. The simple act of sharing a bit of one's experience and listening to another with empathy becomes a powerful gesture of compassion. These small actions can create lasting change for both the one who receives and the one who offers help. These examples remind us that compassion isn't limited to special moments or grand gestures. It's in everyday life, in small acts, where it truly manifests. Anyone, in any circumstance, can be compassionate and make a meaningful impact on others. And when we hear these stories, we feel that compassion is a choice within everyone's reach. All we need is to open our hearts and act. Practicing compassion is a simple yet powerful act that can transform the world around us and our own hearts. Today, we've seen how compassion in Buddhism goes beyond a feeling. It is an intentional practice of relieving suffering and cultivating kindness toward everyone, including ourselves. We've seen that by applying compassion in family relationships, in the workplace, in online interactions, and even in small daily gestures, we create a positive impact that echoes beyond us. Every act of compassion matters. When we listen attentively, offer support without expecting anything in return, or wish someone well in silence, we plant seeds of kindness that can grow and inspire others. And the beauty of this practice lies in its simplicity. We don't need special moments to be compassionate, only the willingness to start where we are, with those beside us, doing what we're able to do. So, my invitation to you is this: start small. Dedicate a day to observe yourself and practice compassion consciously. At the end of the day, reflect on these moments and how they impacted your journey. Remember that every compassionate gesture has value, and together, we can create a kinder, more humane world. Thank you for being here, and may you go forward with a compassionate heart and a peaceful mind.